Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're back. This is DeepDive, and it's me, Hare, and of course with my partners in crime, Carol Odero and Sid Chudasama.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So today two of our guys are not on because we were testing this new set. And testing our new look on DeepDive, so we couldn't bring them on studio, but yeah, next week I think we'll have everybody on board. So today again, as usual, we have interesting stories to talk about, interesting stories on tech, a bit of politics, but yeah, mostly tech. So welcome, and I hope you have fun. Hey, Carol, what do you think of our new studio?
I love it.
Yeah?
Yes, it's great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm glad we have one now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Sid?
I absolutely adore it.
Yeah?
I can't wait to see the evolution process.
Getting there, man. Getting there. So our first story. Empeza. You know, everybody talks about Empeza. So, you know, Empeza is like a global phenomenon. You know, sometimes I even get tired of people talking about Empeza, especially when you go abroad. So everybody's like, hell, you're from Kenya? Okay. So the land of Empeza? So I'm like, yeah. There's so many other innovations in Kenya. So, but yeah, Empeza is like our big thing. And we can't stop talking about Empeza. But something interesting happened a few weeks ago. You know, we've been off DeepDive for a bit. So a few weeks ago, when Empeza, actually Safaricom, the parent of Empeza, launched the single USSD to access all the different services that Empeza has. So this is big, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it definitely is.
So what's the impact? How big is it, and what is the impact that has on Empeza as a platform, but also the users?
Well, for the users specifically, it's a huge thing because of their use of feature phones in Kenya. So many people use feature phones, especially in the rural areas and semi-urban areas, that they need to access Empeza without having smartphones, and they need to be able to use their phones in an environment where they don't necessarily have to have Wi-Fi or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sid?
Yeah, so tying back into what Carol said, we don't realize that a large majority of Kenyans use feature phones. And Safaricom have taken this dynamic of agility to a whole new level because they're able to access users with feature phones by ensuring that they don't have to enter the Safaricom toolkit to access Empeza. They just need to have the USSD code. So I feel like Safaricom has even taken that perspective they have of a fish in a puddle to an even greater extent, because now they have access. The Empeza platform has a lot more user access. More people can access it easier. So, yes.
Guys, okay, you know, I could be missing the point here. But who uses feature phones? Who does?
My grandmother for one, and a few people who are in shags. The people who use kabambe, the watches. It's basically people who are not middle class. There are a lot of them who would use it, or people who have smartphones and they also use a kabambe.
Why would you do that?
I do that.
Why would you do that?
The battery life of a kabambe phone is longer.
Yes.
Battery life?
Yes, it's longer. So if you have emergencies,
What
and you
phone
tend
do
to
you use?
I use a Nokia, and it lasts me a day.
Okay, so why would you need a kabambe?
If I have a business that I'm running on the side, or if I have people who call me at all hours of the day, or if I am an Empeza agent and I need to be able to access funds immediately and I can't keep waiting to charge my phone, or if, well, no, they would not use it.
Okay, so...
Sid has a kabambe.
Can I just show? I want the viewers to see these still exist. And they're very much alive.
What do you use it for?
Empeza first and foremost. And it's unbreakable. That's the second thing.
Put it down here. We'll step on it and see. We'll see if it's unbreakable.
Not on live.
No, seriously, what do you use it for?
Okay, so predominantly I use it for Empeza. I just find the interface is a lot easier to use. I know that's debatable, but yes, I use it for Empeza.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay, so honestly, from my perspective, I feel like feature phones are actually going out of fashion, because if you look at the price differential between a feature phone and a smartphone,
yeah.
It's like 200 bob.
It's more like 2,000 bob.
No.
Yes. The average cost of a smartphone that's cheaper, it's probably like 4,500 shillings. Then a smartphone would be like $10 or something like that, a feature phone.
I'm struggling with this, but I don't have the numbers. But I personally feel like probably that investment could have gone somewhere else, as in the investment of creating, bringing all those short codes into one USSD by Safaricom. I feel like that investment could have gone somewhere else, where maybe improve the app. I don't know. But anyway. I'm not Safaricom, I'm not the CEO of Safaricom, and I'm sure they see the numbers, they know how many feature phones are there, but yeah, I'm not convinced.
What would you prefer they spend this money on?
Make the app better, more stable. Yeah, because I don't see in the next, I don't know, in the next 2 years, do you see feature phones still surviving?
Not really.
No.
Not particularly, no.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking as well.
But for the 2 years leading up to that expiration date, they have a reason for the feature phone.
Okay. But it's a good thing. I like that you can now use one code to access all the different services on Empeza, as opposed to how you had to actually cram those numbers, right?
Yes.
Hash 532 star.
Honestly. You missed the star you're calling.
0722, yes.
Yeah, so I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Google and Apple and all these. See, this is your thing.
Yes.
So, look, I create a platform. Don't I have a right to charge what I want to charge for people who want to use my platform?
You can, because it's your prerogative and you're a private organization.
Okay.
Then you have all rights to do whatever it takes to keep your business running. I would not consider it to be something of a monopoly, as everybody seems to be viewing it. I figure that if you're Google, here's the thing. If you're Google and you're in a country like America where there is a president called Trump,
hey, not for long. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Then it means that for you, you're thinking that Google doesn't actually doesn't allow conservatives to access your Google platform, and that you are a bit hostile towards conservatives. So therefore, in order for you to capitalize on this idea, you decide to punish Google because you think that they're not favoring your conservatism. So then in that instance, where there is politics and tech combined, then it is very difficult to extricate the two and actually figure out where the good is and where the evil is. And in this case, they're trying to make sure that Apple is brought into their suit, so that Apple can also be part of this monopolization.
Yes.
Because they think that Apple is also, like, they're the only ones who can use this platform. They're paid to use the platform. Therefore, they have an advantage and Google have an advantage, and that's an unfair advantage. So there is no competition there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where that idea of unlawful monopolization comes in. Because they think that the regulator thinks that Google is not giving a fair chance to other companies to come up and innovate and do something. But then at the same time, Google has done this on their own. So it's like...
They've invested.
Yes.
Yeah, they've put money into building whatever they're building. Yeah, it's like now telling Safaricom, hey, okay, so yeah, you're big boy, you've created this platform, so you need to share it with Telcom or Airtel.
Exactly, that same perspective.
But if you look at it in another way, I think that part of this is the fear that Google has access to all of this information and all of this data, and they're thinking that what is Google going to do with it? How does Google make money? How do we prevent a monopolization from actually happening, and how do you nip a monopolization in the bud? So there are all these other issues that would probably come up with this antitrust suit that would be more interesting to look at rather than just.
But when I look at the story, I think the biggest issue is search.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're saying that search is Google has become a monopoly around search.
Yes.
And that Apple needs to open up the search space so that other such companies can compete with Google.
But we're using Google because we like Google, because you want to use Google.
We are
not being forced to use Google. I mean, I could use Bing if I wanted to, but I choose not to. I choose to use Google. So since I have the element of choice, for me, I really don't see the monopolization here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because user choice comes in. And on top of that, the holy grail of all of this is giving users rights to their data. That's when we'll know how powerful Google really is, you know?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
In the sense that we're saying all of this about Google unlawfully monopolizing the sector, right? But then at the same time, we can also know that they're powerful, yes, but to what extent are they actually harnessing users' data to control this position that the regulators say they're sitting on? You know?
Funny you should say that, because that's one of the reasons why this search engine called DuckDuckGo, that they actually... Yeah, there is a search engine called... I actually was looking at this and I only knew two search engines, that was Google and Bing. There is one called DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo?
DuckDuckGo, like quack, duck.
DuckDuckGo.
And they actually treat people's data with more respect than Google does.
Yeah.
But still, they can't thrive in this environment because Google is the big giant and they're monopolizing the space. So people like DuckDuckGo can't grow when Google is as big as it is.
And the thing about DuckDuckGo, what they do is that a big part of their search engine is not profiling the searcher. That's literally what Google do. Google will even give you search suggestions because they've profiled you.
Yeah.
Now DuckDuckGo is
it's like they know everything about you.
So is a suit? Is it a valid? Is there like what's the word?
I think it is a frivolous and vexatious suit, as you were taught in law school.
Okay.
I don't see that it has any value as of yet. They haven't any evidence that shows that Google has been doing this malpractice, that they have gotten a benefit by doing anything illegal. What they have done is just grow. And they've taken use of a capitalist market, and that's the reason why they are where they are.
And now they're pulling in Apple into that.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's I think we'll need to follow this story and see how it goes. Yeah. Again, on regulators again, Ant Group.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yes.
This was supposed to be like the biggest IPO in the world, in history.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
But no. The regulator has said, stop.
Yeah.
There are a few things we need to speak to you about, Mr. Ma.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on this?
It's kind of baffling to think about the fact that they stopped the IPO less than 48 hours before it was supposed to go out. So I can't imagine what Jack Ma and his people are going through. But besides that, I also feel like once again the regulator is clipping the wings on such a massive company because they feel that they're too powerful, especially owing to the fact that Ant Group actually control 96% of the finance applications and finance procedures in China. That's like 700 million people or something.
That's big.
So you can imagine how the regulator is feeling about all of this, the fact that Jack Ma or Ant Group and his people have this much power over something the government should be controlling.
Yeah, that's massive. Carol?
Well, I think that the mistake that Jack Ma made is that it was hubris. He decided to comment on the government and how it handles fintech. And basically he shot himself in the foot by saying that that he was thinking that he could rise above regulation. And in fact, even when
too big to fail.
He thought it was too big to fail. So this has actually made the government look closely at whatever it is that he's doing and how he's making this money. And the fact that he's making all this money and he has all this power because of data, and it is only the Chinese government who want to be able to control this data, then it puts him into a lot of trouble and it puts him in their crosshairs.
So do you think, you know, when I look at the dynamics at play there, so this is power play, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's power play where you're saying you can't be bigger than the Communist Party.
No, you can't.
Yes.
And we are going to teach you how to be smaller than we think you should be.
And we know how the Chinese government or regulators do not take criticism.
They do not take kindly to it.
They do not.
Yeah, but also, again, because he has all these senior government officials in his social circles, he basically bypassed going through the central bank before he did the IPO. So now they're thinking, okay, we will find a way to make you go back to the things that you're supposed to have done to regulate you. So now he can't use the senior government officials to cloak himself. So he basically has to go through the processes that everybody goes through during the IPO.
And takes us back to the perspective of, oh, too big to fail.
Yeah. Yes.
So what do you guys think will happen to Ant Group?
I think they'll just
and the IPO, because you see, like I'm looking at the investors who had already, you know, they had seen a goodbye, they had put in money, the staff at Ant Group itself, you know, Jack Ma himself. What is going to happen?
It's interesting. I know back when I was a business journalist, we always used to wonder, why doesn't the stock exchange get influenced by fundamentals? It always gets affected by sentiment. And in this case, it was his sentiments that actually affected how he was performing on the stock exchange. I just think maybe they'll freeze Ant Group for some time. And then maybe they'll try an investigation. They might botch it up or they might fake something. Who knows? I hope nothing bad happens to Jack Ma. But I think that after a few months of attempting to review or reviewing it, they're probably just going to let him sneak back into the stock market quietly.
Without the fanfare and the news.
Because this was such a big splash.
It was.
And you know, about that, you said something bad not happening to Jack Ma. I think it's too late. I read that he lost like $3 billion in this mishap. And on top of that, Alibaba is having
the
stocks
are going down.
Yeah,
the stocks are going down.
He's just being hit from every angle.
Crazy. You know, I don't know, because you know, in every jurisdiction that you go to, you find that the regulators are always, sniffing what's going on, and sometimes I feel like regulators actually stifle innovation.
They actually were stifling innovation in China. That was the thing that he was complaining about, that they're stifling the innovations around fintech. And so they punished him for saying this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it seemed that he was actually quite right, because that is exactly what they're doing to him.
That's what they did.
And the Ant Group and anybody else who's going to come after them, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so we have one big story that we have to do. So we'll take a quick break and then we'll be back with our cliffhanger story. So stay with us. Okay, so the big story for this week, and this is an ongoing story, It's I want to say American democracy versus big tech.
Yeah.
But it's more like Donald Trump versus big tech.
I agree.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it Donald Trump versus big tech, or is it American democracy versus big tech? Because look, so there's been a lot of misinformation running on social media, and this is on both sides of the divide. But Twitter and Facebook have been very vigilant, and they've been marking some of the tweets and posts that they feel are misinforming the public. And one of the biggest culprits, or if I may say culprit, but one of the biggest people who've been affected is actually the president, President Trump. So what do you guys think about this?
Trump is an absolute live wire, first and foremost. So it's like those guys are having the hardest time possible regulating what he's saying, because every other day he's saying something that goes against the policies, or is kind of getting just misinformation generally. So I actually saw Facebook created a rule on the fly of how to treat Trump's posts, because first of all, they're going against all policies, and they're also creating some sort of general creation of information for what people should understand from the post, until it's just diverting what is necessary and what is important. Because, for example, he said, stop the voting, stop the counting, and it became so famous, and that was misinformation. And Facebook created rules to label and flag it and pull it down on the fly, literally as the post went up. So that tells you the Facebook team is working around the clock, just watching Trump, just trying to keep him, just trying to keep him on check. It's like, okay, what has he said now? What do we need to do? It's insane.
I can imagine the CTO at Facebook and Twitter. And their teams. Trying to manage the kind of, because everybody's posting stuff, because it's just the other day that I think Jack Dorsey and Zuckerberg was summoned about their involvement in the election. So, Carol, what's
Well, I think that first of all, Trump is the president, so he can't post tweets and expect to be treated as a normal citizen. He can't think that he has the freedom of speech as Donald Trump, because what he says can become policy, it can become law, it can cause a war.
So it's like those roadside declarations.
Yes. And Twitter and Facebook can actually control what Trump says, because they're saying this on a private platform. They come up with rules on how to manage the platform, so they can actually control what it is that Trump posts. Because they're like they're treating him like like a Twitter, tweet. They're treating him like a tweet.
Carol, because you mentioned that. You talked about like the conservatism aspect, and this goes back to Donald Trump's war with generally
all social media platforms.
That he says they're prejudiced against conservatists. So it tells you that it is a political war, yes, but he's also turning it into something that revolves around the way in which he wants his information disseminated, and he wants them to follow that narrative. Which they won't.
But then there's okay, and I know, Carol, you've sort of mentioned you've talked about this, but if we actually looked at it from Trump's perspective,
right?
Is big tech infringing on his freedom of speech?
Yes and no. Yes, because they are basically censoring what it is that he's saying. And regardless of how they think of it or go about it, it is really censorship, because they're basically taking down his posts. But what they're also doing is they have sort of like tickers that they keep reminding people, we have not finished counting the votes. Please do not believe that Donald Trump is the winner. But the reason why his freedom of speech is being infringed on is because he's also a private citizen. So that also has to be taken into account. As a private citizen, he is entitled to post his thoughts and his opinions.
Yeah.
But now the thing is that what are his opinions about? If his opinions are inflammatory, then he can be censored. If his opinions are illegal or they are likely to cause panic, then I think they should be monitored. But at the same time, even him, he likes blocking people on social media. You know, you do something to Trump, he blocks you. So even for him, he's basically not yet. What he does is actually he infringes on other people's freedom of speech because he's not allowing people to critique him as a Republican.
Exactly.
So he just wants specific opinions to come his way. So he is infringing on other people's rights. So he should not therefore be able to speak about his own rights being infringed because he's doing the same to other people.
Very true.
Yeah.
See, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And that gives thought to where Twitter and Facebook and all of those media, social media companies should draw the line as to where that freedom starts to express himself and where he needs to stop and what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, it is their right as Facebook and as Twitter to determine what it is they consider hate speech.
But then, doesn't that give them too much power again?
This is why they were summoned. So yes, it does give them too much power.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does.
It does give them too much power. But so far, what is the alternative?
It's only a matter of time.
You know, it's at this point the only thing they can do is censor it. That's the only way that they can control it. They haven't figured out new ways of managing and controlling traffic. I mean, Facebook has blocked about 66,000 messages on its platform just the past month alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of conversation that happens that it doesn't necessarily infringe on your right to speech, but what it does is that it is considered hate speech. So they're not infringing on your right to express yourself. What they're doing is they're monitoring hate speech on their platform.
Yeah.
So you can say what you want, you have freedom of speech, but on this platform, this is how far your rights will go.
Okay. So basically they have their own rules on the platforms, which they expect all the users. And I think when you sign up for these on these platforms, there are those things that we never read.
The disclaimers.
Disclaimers. We never read it. Just say yes, because you want to get over and done with it. You know? So you're like yes. Basically, you sometimes actually those things you're like giving your soul to whoever.
And you don't know.
And you don't know. But you don't read it because it's long text. There's so much legalese.
You can't even understand half of it.
So you just say yes, and you move on.
Just get it over with.
So anyway, Facebook, Twitter, I think they're doing a good job. At the end of the day, we need to control what goes out, and especially in the US right now, the place is so tense. People are so tense, and anything can just flare up.
And at least they didn't shut down the internet like they did in Tanzania. They still have the internet.
Oh my God! Tanzania. I love that country, but then sometimes the things that. But look, this is not just about Tanzania. I think a lot of African countries as well. Actually, a lot of developing countries have resorted to shutting down the internet whenever there's an election or whenever there's some kind of
unrest.
Protestation on certain things. They will always use the kill key. To silence people, and I think it needs to end. It's not a good culture.
But don't you think that when they're doing that, they're protecting the people from themselves?
I don't want to be protected.
You don't?
No.
But that's what the state is supposed to do.
I don't want to be protected. Give me my freedom.
Your freedom comes at a cost.
Allow me to protect myself as well.
Okay.
Let it be my responsibility. I'm just saying.
Okay. With responsibilities and privileges come rights, and you must be able to exercise them the correct way.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so I really, I've been following the election and what is happening in the US. So I hope they'll get a president by the end of today.
I hope so too.
I think it needs to end.
Yes, they're embarrassing us now.
They're becoming like a third world country.
Yes. They're basically us.
Maybe we need to send somebody to
send an envoy.
Did you send it? By the way, did you send observers? Okay. On a serious note, what's coming up? What's going to happen this week? Next week? What's big? What are you seeing?
Well, I am seeing that if Biden becomes president, there still will not be an end to the Google antitrust warfare. They're still going to continue with that lawsuit. They're still going to attack Google. And just because they started on a conservative note doesn't mean it's going to end. If Biden becomes president, he can't put a stop to it, he can't halt it. So all of this, this so-called immunity that the social media companies have, I feel like it's under attack. So that is going to be reviewed. They're going to review how people use their platforms, and then you're going to review the antitrust laws.
Yeah.
At least for the next week, I would imagine that this is going to be the conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree.
I feel that if Biden comes to power, then the WeChat and the TikTok bans will actually be lifted.
You think so?
I think so.
So
What about the Huawei one?
That one is a tough one.
5G, right?
Yes.
5G world.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that the Democrats are more inclined to coming to the table and negotiate with China
Than the Republicans have been.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And because I feel like there's a level of global citizenry feeling within the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
But we never know. We'll have to see.
Crossed.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah. So thank you guys. That's all we have for you today, and we hope to see you again next week. Please tweet, talk to us, tell us what you think about the show, and give us ideas and criticize us also if we miss something. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.